The views expressed are not necessarily those of KSCJ and Powell Broadcasting Company. This program is not intended to replace the advice of doctors or other clinical providers. Consult with your practitioner to ensure the proper course of action for you.
Welcome to When Things Aren't Going Well on AM 1360, FM 94.9 KSCJ. This program is dedicated to your mental health wellness and brought to you by Family Services, a United Way partner agency. Here's your host, Art Silva.
Good morning, Siouxland, and welcome to When Things Aren't Going Well. This show is all about your mental wellness and how you can help yourself navigate the daily highway of life. We hope to educate and motivate you to help yourself improve your mental wellness environment. Our show is brought to you by Family Services, a United Way partner agency serving the Siouxland community. Our topic today is elderly mental health and transitions. Joining me is my co-host, Brenda Geisinger, Chief Operating Officer of Boys and Girls Home and Family Services. Good morning, Brenda.
Good morning.
And how are you this morning?
I am fabulous. How about you?
I'm okay. Hey, it's Thursday, okay, holiday week. These weeks, when you get a 4-day week, it's like putting 5 days still in the 4. So anyhow, we're getting through it. You staying hydrated with all this heat?
Yes.
Good. And how's your garden doing there?
More weeds than flowers. It's a little disappointing.
Uh-oh.
That means I'm getting lazy.
It's the heat. Blame it on the heat. Oh, well, good morning again. And would you please introduce our guest and our topic?
Absolutely. We have with us Sandy Jacobsma. She's been with us before. As some may know and others may not, Sandy is a licensed therapist at Family Services, and she is also faith-based. And so she helps those various issues that may come up for people. And it's a pleasure to have her here today.
Thank you.
It's always good when we have you on, Sandy, and I'm really looking forward to today's topic because we're going to talk about elderly and mental health transitions. And I just want to know, how do you define elderly? Is it 80?
Sure, since I'm at...
Whatever you want it to be.
Yeah, because I'm falling into that elderly maybe group too, so yeah.
The other day I went out to eat. I was so excited I got the senior discount.
Whoa, you didn't even ask for it?
I was like, yay, cheap, yay.
There are benefits. Yes, there are.
Yes.
But we're going to talk today about transitioning and looking at it from a mental health perspective. So, could you let's frame our topic here, Sandy? What are we talking about with retirement? Not one size fits all. There's all different styles and sizes. So, I'll let you help us here.
I think that's really good to keep in mind when we think of retirement, because there are many stages to retirement. Some people have waited and they have great plans of everything they're going to do. Some include moving somewhere else. They may be closer to family or going south and missing our wonderful Iowa winters. And, there's all different transitions at life. And some are determined by the physical health that people are in and their economic situation at the time that they retire. So there's many factors that go into retirement.
So as you look at it, it's like managing a lot of little things here. And let's talk about the different types of retirement, because there's retirement. First of all, people stay in their homes and they retire and that's their life. And you read stories about being married 68 years and that's one segment. Other part though, let's talk about the other different types of retirement communities. How about independent living?
The independent living can be very diverse. Some of the places, the communities have maybe a smaller home environment and things are taken care of. You don't have to worry about mowing or snow removal. And you're also there with a lot of other people who are considered, retired, but there's a lot of activities that can happen in senior communities, get-togethers, going places together, such as theater or whatever you want to be involved in. So that's one level of moving into a senior community.
Another level is, how about assisted living?
Assisted living is where maybe it can even be where one of the spouses or partners need more care, because of health problems. It can be mental health, it can be physical health, just declining. And you could get some nursing care. You can have occupational therapy come in. There's many more types of ways to have it. Some people are in their own apartment within more in the main building where they can get these services easily. There's meal prep. Oftentimes there may be lunch served or dinner, and you may do the other meal in your own apartment if you're capable of cooking. If not, all 3 meals are served. There's apartments where, you may be living and the one spouse is very capable of doing a lot of things, and then you have more freedom to come and go. So it's all depending on the ability of the person, of what care they need.
And we're talking, we're looking at the physical side of things. These environments, talking about specifically independent living and assisted living, they put you with other people. So that social thread that we need is there, built in. And I find, later, my mother's 90, and she's still living in her own house. But she has talked about the benefits of moving into a senior community just for the socialization part. And the thing she says, I can leave when I want. So it's pretty much having that control. And I think control is I'm learning from my mother, just having that control is so important. Your thoughts on that?
I think that's really important with mental health, that as long as you can maintain control, I think people do so much better. And that's one of the biggest issues when you're transitioning, is having to give up your home, trying to figure out what possessions you can take with you. Do your children really want these possessions, or your extended family? And when they don't, I've worked with someone where it was really hard when they had to auction off some of their belongings that meant so much to them, but it's not as much to other people who would be getting them.
I'm out Silva along with Brenda Geisinger and our guest, licensed therapist Sandy Jacobsma, and we're discussing elderly mental health in the transitions through life. Brenda, let me ask you a question. I know that you and your mother are close, and what observations do you have from her lifestyle and where she is? Is she still in her own home?
My mother is. I think one of the things that my mother and I have talked about, which you have mentioned, is that socialization. A lot of her friends are in assisted living or in a nursing home, and she's a little bit younger and still feels that she can maintain in her own house. And that disconnection, having to go visit them or finding a new friend group and just kind of, where do I fit in? Because she doesn't feel she's ready to go to assisted living, but yet feels like maybe she should because she misses her friends so much.
Sandy, let's go back to the other types of retirement communities. We talked about independent living, assisted living. How about full-time care?
There's different ways to have full-time care. For some families, you're able to bring somebody into the home and to be able to provide that full-time care. Sometimes there's family members along with, nursing care, or having a CNA come in that's able to, help with baths, help with, just as some of those, be able to stay with the person so that other family members are able to go on with their daily routine. So that would be one way to have full-time care. The other way would be that you're fully in assisted living, or maybe even transitioning to memory care if you are beginning to show signs of dementia or Alzheimer's.
You're finding a lot of facilities now adding memory care to their curriculum, what they offer, the services. Brenda, you and I were both talking about our mothers and the socialization that they need so much. Let's take this to the next extreme. How about Sun City and places like that, those retirement communities that you see? Now, that's an option for those who are fortunate enough to be able to do that. But that, I think, they back it up with medical care and everything else, that's all social.
Yes.
And I think that's good. That's all social.
Yep.
We have a whole group of people in Sioux City and Siouxland, I should say also, that migrate to Arizona.
Yes.
You go to Arizona, it's not hard to find an Iowa bar or, where people just come and they migrate there. And that seems to be that in Texas, a natural place for us to go to stay warm. and that helps with some health issues later on. So a lot of factors determining what we do and what we do and how we go about this. When we come back, we're going to talk about making the decision to move to a retirement community. What are some of the emotional issues involved in doing that? So we're coming up on our break right now. Going to enjoy the dawn of another beautiful morning here. So we'll be right back with more When Things Aren't Going Well, right here on 1360 AM, 94.9 FM, KSCJ.
Let's face it, that happens to all of us. However, the pandemic has compounded all of our lives and activities. Even the simplest tasks seem harder. Hi, I'm Brenda Geisinger, the Chief Operating Officer at the Boys and Girls Home and Family Services. Family Services is a United Way partner agency serving children and families of our community, and we're here to help. If you'd like to learn more about Family Services, please contact us via email, website, Facebook, or phone Mary Pickens. At Family Services, we change lives.
Welcome back to When Things Aren't Going Well on KSCJ. Here's Art Silva.
Welcome back to When Things Aren't Going Well. Let's continue our discussion on elderly mental health and transitions with Brenda Geisinger and our guest from Family Services, licensed therapist Sandy Jacobsma. Sandy, Brenda, let me ask you guys, we're talking about transitions, elderly transitions and the mental health issues that go along with that. So let's zero in a little more. What mental health issues are associated with transitions?
I think there's sometimes some anger, that you're at this point in life and you don't want to be, and going through that process. There can be grief. There can be sadness. There can be joy. It really depends on the person and how they've come to this decision and the acceptance of this decision. And it's working through those thoughts and emotions and what you're going to do with this change and this transition. Sandy, your thoughts?
I think that's really a good point to make out. And I think the other part that I've seen is for families.
Yes.
A lot of times families are the ones that have to step in and make these decisions, and elderly parents or other family members aren't recognizing that they're not doing well caring for themselves. And for the families, it's very stressful because the loved one can get very angry at them and does not understand why this is happening. And so that causes a lot of problems for everybody involved. You can see a lot of depression can creep in because you are making such a major life change. And it's accepting also where you are at and how you are functioning. And that's really hard to give up that independence.
I'll share with you, talking with my mom, for safety reasons, and that generates everything, a fall or whatever, and she's by herself. So, her resentment, she doesn't want to leave, and her rationalization is, I know this house. I know everything here. I know where everything is. I go to a new place I've been, which is nothing but, we still worry about it. So she won't wear the locket around her neck, and that's a tough thing, so I'm working on a watch. You worry about their safety. They're alone. They're gung-ho, and they're going to do it. My mom's a depression-era mom, and she's one of these people who think you just can't stop. You got to keep going. And you know people like that. They just keep going, got to keep going, got to keep going. And you'll marvel at it. But moving out of the house and transitioning from the house is so much more difficult than taking away the car. And that's tough. But when you get to that point, you talk about family decisions. Yeah, the family has to step in. And we have someone in our work family that just is going through that transition with her parents. And it's something, I think a lot of communication has to happen. I think you got to set the stage up front. Don't make it a surprise. Get their involvement in this move and look for the benefits. Let's point out what's going to happen here that's going to be good. And we've already talked about the socialization aspect. So, there's ways to deal with this, and we know it's going to happen. So let me ask you this. How do we treat these issues? Let's say somebody gets really depressed, or they're not going to talk to you, or you're out of the will. How do we okay, you got my attention now. How do we treat these issues?
I think the first thing is just having respect for the other person's feelings. I mean, it's a huge transition. And what does that mean for them? What are their fears, or what are they hesitant about? And just listening And it's also them recognizing that their life is changing and their future is shorter than what it used to be, and the acceptance of that whole piece. And it's okay that they're still your parent, but they're still needing your help. And it's another significant kind of change of all of a sudden the child becomes a parent to the parent. And it's tough.
I think, Brenda, we were talking about preparing for the show. You gave me some new phrases on elderly. You want to share those with us, please?
Well, we were having a conversation, Sandy and I, the other day, and it's from a book. I can't really remember the name of the book, so it's not me. But the book referenced 3 phases for that transition. And so when you go into retirement, the first phase is called the go-go phase. And you're all excited, and you might want to go on vacations or do your thing. You're all energized. So that's the go-go phase. And then you kind of move into the slow go, and you go a little bit slower. You may stay at home a little more often and just kind of pace yourself. And you might go into assisted living. And then the last phase is the no-go. And you just want to sit and maybe click the TV and just kind of stay put and have people come visit you. And there isn't a lot of activity. And neither phase is bad, but there's just a different tempo to it.
That's I love that. I'm trying to figure, where do I fit in? But I'm not 80 yet, so I'm not worried about it. But let me ask you something on a serious side. We have children in residency that have experienced trauma. How do we help them? Do you see any similarities here with what the kids go through as an after effect of in trauma there that could be comparable to, or comparable, I should say, to adults, elderly people going through a trauma? Do they set into the same type of routine? Do they just withdraw? What do our kids do?
I think it's important to remember that every person, regardless of age, is going to respond to trauma differently. And trauma for one person may not be traumatic for another person. It's really your own response of your emotion, thoughts, and your behaviors to that. But everybody has a means to get help. Talking about it, journaling, finding new ways to cope. And so whether you're transitioning to a nursing home or assisted living, it can be traumatic and why that decision is happening for you. But it's working through that process. And same with the kids that live with us. They may have had a very traumatic event that has happened. And again, they're maybe having to leave their home for a little bit. So that can add to that experience, unfortunately. But we can all work together and talk through it and find ways to cope with that and still live a very productive and happy life.
Even as we sit here today, you think about this down the road. What am I going to be able to do? Where am I going to live? What lifestyle fits me? And there's so many things. And I think about our children, because our children are displaced. When they come and they stay with us for a period of months, that's taking them out of their home, their surroundings. When you look at the elderly taking after a lifetime, that is, and I think going into that type of transition, you really have to communicate and talk and listen to what they're saying and try to make this as easy as possible, and understanding it's not going to be. So it's really interesting. Sandy, let me ask you something. Elderly people, as they go through this transition, what are some of their problems in terms of access to care for services?
Some of them may be financial. Can you afford to have the care that you need? How much have you saved for retirement? How can you access services? There are services out there, and I think the family has to help you advocate to get those. There's all different kinds of supports from, how do you deal with someone who's losing memories, losing ability to care? You can bring in home health. There's adult daycare, so family members can, be somewhere and give the person who's caring for them a break, some respite from them. If you're in a facility, some of the facilities will they have occupational therapy, they have physical therapy. They have a social worker. They have activity directors. So those people are coming in and doing things with people. Some of the people may go to a therapist outside of the facility they're living in, and address issues. One of the biggest factors I think that's so important is that family stays involved with their member who is in placement or in a retirement kind of setting.
I think that's the best advice, and I think it's a good spot to end our show. Like we were coming up on the end of our show for this week, and every week we end our show with a joke. Humor is medicine for the soul. So here we go, and staying with an elderly theme. If my body were a car, I would trade it in for a new model. Every time I cough, sputter, or sneeze, my radiator leaks and my exhaust backfires. Thanks, Brenda, Sandy, and thanks also to our listening audience. Shout out Rivercade Siouxland Summer Festival celebrating its 58th year. The annual Rivercade Parade is this Wednesday night. Plenty of floats and candy. So go to the Rivercade website for all the details of all the Rivercade events going on in the Siouxland community. We are always looking to add to our family, so if you're looking for a career change or to start a new career, please call our HR manager at 293-4700 or email us at boysandgirlshomeiowa.org. That's all small letters all together, boysandgirlshomeiowa.org. We have immediate openings for full and part-time positions, all shifts, including teachers. Extra dollars to help combat inflation. When things aren't going well, we'll be back next Saturday morning at 7 a.m. right here on 1360 AM, 94.9 FM, KSCJ. Your homework this week is to go out and have a good laugh. And may the sun shine on you. Peace.
Happy trails to you until we meet again. Happy trails to you. Keep smiling until then. Happy trails to you till we meet again.
For more information on the services provided by Boys and Girls Home and Family Services, see them online at boysandgirlshomeiowa.org. Or you can call 712-293-4700 to get more information about family services, residential treatment, the Opportunity School, the Siouxland Family Center, and more. At Boys and Girls Home and Family Services, we change lives. We change lives. We change lives.